On this day in 1973, Zeppelin, who, by the way, were a big influence on Geddy Lee and Rush, Zeppelin releases their fifth studio album, Houses of the Holy, in the UK on this day in 1973. And that song right there, Dear Maker, is that how you say it? That's how I say it. Dear Maker was one of the singles released from the album, Houses of the Holy. And that is how we begin our show this Friday morning. Game day, baby. But not just any game day. It's a playoff game day.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
Oh, we're talking about playoffs. That's exactly what we're talking about. Kitchener Rangers, Flint Firebirds tonight at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Game 1 and then Game 2 on Sunday. It just so happens that I have in my possession tickets to both of those games, and I will give them to you. Not now, not right this second, but don't you worry about it. In the immortal words of our bus driver, Mike the Moose Reeves.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. You'll get your chance to win tickets to see either the game tonight or the game on Sunday if you want to play along with really easy Rangers trivia. It's really easy because the point is to award you those tickets. So we'll get you set for the game. We'll award some tickets during the show. We'll have a good time. Have a few laughs. I was at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium last night because where else would you rather be on a Thursday? KW Titans taking on the Sudbury Five, or at least that's what I thought I was going to see. Instead, I just watched referees call foul after foul after foul after foul after foul. Oh, my goodness gracious, with all of the whistles being blown. But it was a very entertaining game, as always. The Titans came up just a wee bit short in that one, but that's okay. As always, an entertaining night at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. I also, in case you're curious, played again and lost again a 50-50 raffle at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. But hope springs eternal, doesn't it? There's going to be a way for me and for you to win 50-50 draws and make sure that we are never excluded from doing that. But we'll talk about that in about 5 minutes' time. So don't go anywhere. Chance to win tickets, chance to never miss another 50-50 draw through Rangers Reach. It's going to be great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9.
All right, let's get to your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning. Number 1, the Leafs lost to the worst team in the NHL last night, but they did score 2 goals in the final minute to tie the game and earn a point in a shootout. And when the Leafs score 5, it's almost certain that Austin Matthews will get one of them, which means we get to start the day with a little AM on AM in the AM.
Leafs win the faceoff. Marner with a wrist shot coming. That blocked the rebound. Scores! Matthews, the puck was in behind. Georgiev and Matthews spotted it and slams it home.
San Jose beat the Leafs, though, last night, 6-5 in that shootout. Number 2, not the start the Jays or their fans were hoping for. On the bright side, Canadian Tyler O'Neill extended his Major League record for opening day home runs.
Fly ball to right field. It is hit well, and it is gone.
Tyler O'Neill has homered for a 6th consecutive year on opening day.
That's pretty cool. Too bad O'Neill plays for the Baltimore Orioles, who crushed the Blue Jays 12-2. Hey, Mark Shapiro, why can't we have Tyler O'Neill? 6 straight opening day home runs for the Canadian from Burnaby, British Columbia. Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, and this one's important because some Blue Jays fans decided to boo the U.S. national anthem at the home opener yesterday versus Baltimore. The jeers against the Star-Spangled Banner turned into cheers and singing as the crowd then sang, "Oh, Canada." I think this is important because I mentioned at the beginning the Kitchener Rangers open a playoff series versus the Flint Firebirds tonight at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Don't you dare. Don't even think about it. I shouldn't even plant the seed. Don't boo the national anthem of the United States tonight. Do not boo the Star-Spangled Banner at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium. Don't be a dope. Otherwise, you and I are going to have words, okay? Don't boo the U.S. anthem tonight. You want to sing "Oh Canada"? Sing "Oh Canada." Do not boo the U.S. anthem tonight, okay? I'm serious. We'll have words. Number 4 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning. Another morning of picketing outside bus terminals in the region. Pickets were set up by striking outside workers with CUPE in the region, not Unifor, which represents transit workers. The region says it reached a tentative deal with outside workers earlier this week, but it's yet to be ratified with CUPE. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, Liberal leader Mark Carney will meet with Canada's premiers today, putting his election campaign on hold for a second day in the face of U.S. tariffs. The virtual meeting will deal with Canada's response to the automotive duties announced this week by U.S. President Donald Trump. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre will campaign again today in British Columbia, where he's set to hold a media conference in Nanaimo. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh expected to make an announcement in Toronto. And that is your Farwell Show 5 for this Friday morning. We'll talk more about those tariffs and their impact on the automotive industry just after the 9:30 news this morning. But after this quick timeout, never will you ever miss another 50-50 draw at a Rangers game. If you do this, we'll tell you what this is coming up. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Game day, baby. And not just any game day, playoff game day. We will see you tonight at the Memorial Auditorium in Kitchener. I know we will. And we'll play our 50-50 tickets as we always do, because even if we don't win, we are supporting initiatives in our community through Rangers Reach. And the executive director of Rangers Reach, Craig Campbell, sits across from me in studio this morning. Craiger, have you come down from the high of the $53,000 jackpot last week?
$58,000.
What?
58.
Oh, it was 53 last year. That's right. 58 this. I can't keep it all straight. Yeah,
our winner was like super excited and hoping to connect with her for a photo opportunity here in the next day or so, and give her the actual check. We're ready to go. So, but as you said earlier in your show, playoffs, baby. It's a whole new game. I can't believe 34 regular season home games are gone by already. It just was like a blink of an eye for me.
So playoffs also mean the playoff bonus jackpot is underway.
Yeah. So we've revived the bonus jackpot. We did it last playoffs. We did it over the Christmas break to help House of Friendship, and this time around we've put our playoff bonus raffle in place to help Camino well-being and mental health. And there's lots of people in our community who need their supports. And so we thought, what a great organization for us to support with that bonus raffle. Oddly enough, we did a soft launch on something else we're going to talk about. And that playoff bonus raffle is already at $1,880.
That's amazing.
So here we are. Game day morning is usually when we send our communications out. We did a soft communication on Wednesday afternoon, and here we are. Our game day jackpot, by the way, tonight is already approaching $2,500. So we've got a big day ahead of us here and a big night. So who knows? You never know. Could be 15, 20 grand again tonight, and someone is going to go home with some tax-free money.
Rangers5050.com. You can get in on that jackpot right now. As Craig mentioned, it's about $2,500 already, $1,800 in the playoff bonus jackpot. Let's talk about that so we understand it better, Craig. When we go to buy our 50-50 tickets at Rangers5050.com, we have the option of getting in on the playoff bonus jackpot too.
Yes. If you purchase a ticket to the main raffle, the game day raffle, you'll be then presented with the option. I call it the gold puck option because the price points are identified in gold pucks. You'll be presented with that option to purchase the playoff bonus raffle, and that's the one that will carry on until the very final day of the Rangers playoffs. The draw will take place at 10 a.m. the next day. I'm hoping that day is around May 22nd.
That would be wild.
Wouldn't that be something?
Oh my goodness. It just gives me a little bit of chill to think about it.
So that's the plan with that one. So you can choose to purchase that when you go to checkout. And then the other fabulous new option we do have now that we worked on and implemented this week is when you get to checkout, there is now a new identifier and checkbox on our checkout page that allows you to say, I don't ever want to miss a Rangers Reach 50-50 draw for a Rangers game day, get me a ticket every time. You can click the box and you can basically become a Rangers Reach 50/50 member, and we'll process your ticket for you every game day for the amount that you chose on the main raffle. It doesn't include the bonus because we don't want people to think that they have to double up on bonus raffle tickets. So if you go in, pick a game day raffle, even if you pick a bonus raffle, you'll be subscribed, membered for the main draw for all the rest of the playoffs, every game day that we do one.
And do we suspect this carries over into the new season?
Yeah, we'll obviously off-season presents all sorts of things as we'll reevaluate how we do things and what changes we might want to make. My speculation will be in the off-season that we'll try to look at our price points to make sure. I would like to see us have just 4 price points. We have a lot of variety in a lot of areas, and sometimes it presents itself a challenge. So subscribing now will get you through the rest of the playoffs, and then we'll probably start fresh. The rules on subscriptions, memberships in the AGCO, it's you're buying in for the same ticket quantity and price point. We have this advantage in the playoffs because we run bonus pricing every day, every game. So our price doesn't change throughout the playoffs. So we're able to quickly implement that. So we're going to look at that and how we can integrate that for the 25-26 season. But this will run, like I said, hopefully till May 22nd.
So the price points are 5, 10,
20, 40, and 75.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you can get, but that means like if you're like me and you play your $5 every game, you purchase that. Well, you're not buying a subscription. You click the box to be subscribed, and then every playoff game, you're in for your $5 automatically.
We'll send a notification out letting you know that your membership order is going to be purchased shortly, and the date of the game, just so that you're aware, no surprises. And then we'll go ahead and trigger that process to make sure that all those people get their tickets. It's easy. It's really a one-click opt-in, but then you can certainly go back to our site. You can manage your own membership. If you decide you don't want it, it's easy to get out. You can do it yourself. You can email us. There's all sorts. It's very well thought out and very easy to manage. You
mentioned the playoff bonus raffle with Camino Mental Health and Wellbeing, and this is just another example, Craig, of the impact that our purchases at Rangers5050.com have.
Yeah, again, like I'm almost blown away. We've been planning and thinking, how do we share some more of our message? It's hard because of the day-to-day rigor, but in the off season, how do we share more of our message of organizations that we've hit and touched throughout the year? And this was one that our board came up and said, with everything that's happening, the value of the dollar and all those things and interest rates and inflation and all those things, Camino seemed to be a natural fit. There are people in our community every day, and you could pass them in the grocery store and not even know, that need these supports that they provide. And so we just thought that it was a natural tie-in to, hey, we have this ability with our playoff bonus jackpot to designate it somewhere. We can't do that with our game days because we pool everything for grants and other things. So this was just a natural fit for us, and they've been great to work with. Lots of, try to enhance things, and we're changing things up on the fly, trying new things, and hopefully it's a big result and helps raise some money that every organization in our community could use, extra funds. So for this one, we're able to help out.
And we could use some extra tax-free funds too, should we be lucky enough to have our number drawn.
And I think that's the allure of the 50-50. Of course. Is that, I could win this, but at the end of the day, it generally is a feel-good purchase. That that if you don't win, there's still a winner in our community. And so for us, we really want to push that narrative and make sure that our buyers, understand and they see everything that we're doing.
Playoff game day. So you can get your tickets right now for the Rangers Reach 50-50 draw for tonight's game. The main jackpot already about $2,500. Rangers5050.com. While you're there, get in on the playoff bonus jackpot if you like. That's supporting Camino Mental Health and Wellbeing. And then there's the opportunity for you to just click a box and say, you know what, I don't want to miss a single playoff game 50-50 draw, even if you're not there, right? Because it'll be run for you automatically. Whatever your price point is, $5, $10, $20, or $40 or $75, you can have that played every single game until the end of the playoffs.
And the best part is if you have to leave and, go to Vancouver or something and you miss a game, well, when you're in Vancouver, you can't go online and buy tickets because you have to be in the province of Ontario.
That's a great point.
For the membership, you only have to initiate the membership from the province of Ontario. So you can go on your little vacation and you're not going to miss. You could be getting ready to cash checks while you're sitting on the beach.
Absolutely love it. Craigor, it's a playoff game day. I'll see you at the rink tonight.
I'll see you tonight, and thanks again for having us. We couldn't do this without you and our sponsors at Arnold Hearing. Thank you.
Chris and Stacy, come on with Arnold Hearing.
They're
already. Unreal.
I feel bad because I missed them the last time I was here, and they're the most unbelievable humans.
Keep up the great work all around. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
Craig Campbell, Executive Director of Rangers Reach, joins us on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio, Rogers TV. Who doesn't love a playoff game day? That's what we're into, and the show, as per usual, covers the issues of the day, including Donald Trump's tariffs and the impact on our automotive industry. That conversation coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
This is where today's topics turn into today's talking points. It's local and it's Democratic radio at its finest. This is the Mike Farwell Show on 570 News Radio.
President Trump again imposed unjustified tariffs on our nation in violation of our existing trade agreements. This time, he targeted the auto industry and the more than 500,000 hardworking, dedicated Canadians that industry supports across our country.
The Mike Farwell Show continues
on 570 News Radio.
And that, of course, is Liberal leader Mark Carney back in his role as Prime Minister in the face of these tariff threats from Donald Trump again. And we are anticipating those tariffs now to be implemented next Thursday, April the 2nd. Flavio Volpe is the president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, joins the show this morning. Good morning, Flavio.
Hey, thanks for having me on again.
Well, thanks for making the time. I got to wonder, are you dizzy at this point? It just seems to be on again, off again. What's happening? This is happening. How are you feeling?
It's so flaky. It's hard to keep up. He moves the goalpost every day, and this one here got moved because I think he wanted to save the job of Secretary of Defense, and now the world's automakers have a problem. It's nothing anybody's ever modeled, and so it's exhausting. But more importantly, it's dangerous to critical interests in this country, and so you can't take the time off, and you can't dismiss it.
No question about that. And you say the world's automakers are in trouble, and I think we inherently understand that. Can you put it in perspective, Flavio, what this means to automakers, particularly here in Canada?
Sure. The global auto sector is about 100 million cars of production in let's call it a dozen countries. And they all rely on predictable access to each other's markets, with the exception of China. The number one market for everybody is North America, and primarily the U.S., the highest disposable income. People replace their cars every 4 years. Americans buy about 5 million vehicles more than the country produces. So it's also a very good import opportunity for companies around the world. Those imports are part of this thing that we rely on. We sell in 1.25 million, 1.5 million cars a year into the U.S. market, but importantly, Canadians buy just as many vehicles made in the U.S. or by U.S. automakers. When the President of the United States decides he wants to blow up the day by putting a tariff, a 25% tariff, that's probably 4 or 5 times the profit margin of every automaker and automotive supplier on for access to that market, which, by the way, nobody in the auto business, especially in Detroit, is asking for. They're asking for the opposite, stay out of the way. It has thrown everybody on their ear. And there's an abject disrespect here for a lot of, never mind Canada and Mexico, and we've built this industry together, but that when he talks about the Germans and the Japanese and the Koreans taking advantage of that market, well, there's those 3 countries' automakers are invested in making approximately 6 or 7 million cars in the U.S. They are U.S. investors and employers. And Canadian auto parts suppliers have 170 factories, the equivalent of probably 4 or 5 car plants, $10 billion of investment capital in the U.S., 26 states employing 47,500 Americans. So, absolutely nobody's modeled this in. And he just dropped it on everybody in the middle of the day on Wednesday, and we're stuck with it.
I think we understand what Donald Trump hopes to happen or thinks will happen. He wants to repatriate American jobs. He wants to repatriate American money and the investment that goes into automotive, et cetera, et cetera. But how do you think this will play out?
Well, to your point on repatriating, we're listening to his Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, say, these are Michigan jobs. Why are they in Canada? And it's ignorant. The jobs at Ford and Windsor, for example, have been there for 121 years. When Ford was a startup, it was a 1-year-old company. They said, let's make 119 cars in Walkerville, Ontario. And then all the way up and down the highway, even the Japanese are the newest arrivals, and they've been here 40 years. He either doesn't know how the industry works or doesn't care. They are, I listened to Pino Navarro, his manufacturing advisor, yesterday, say on CNN that, the Detroit 3 are not really American companies. They have less American content in the vehicles they make there than Honda in the U.S. And, you have to listen to their posture to understand how little they care. What will happen is shipments, if every car and every part costs an extra 25% more, that has to be a check written by the importer to Customs and Border Patrol for a company that makes a 6 or 7% profit. In the first week of March when this came down, it lasted a day and a half before he pulled back because it'll shut the industry down within a week. People will not ship, and you can't make the cars without all of the parts. And when the Ambassador Bridge was blockaded in February 22, we saw in 2 days plants from Ontario to Kentucky shutting down because of lack of access. And this is, if he goes through with this on Wednesday, by the next Wednesday, you're going to see massive shutdowns. American auto workers at home, not worried about the price of eggs, but worried about how they're going to make their rent.
How would you like to see us respond to this? What is the best response? Well,
I advised the Prime Minister yesterday, and the day before, that he's threatening 5 layers of tariffs on us. The steel and aluminum, the cars, the reciprocal tariffs, the fentanyl-related ones, and of course, the renegotiation of the USMCA. We do not need to respond immediately. We do not need to respond with emotion. Let's respond midnight before they go ahead. We've watched him do a series of jump scares over the last 3 months, take us right to the edge or slightly over it and pull back. Let's learn from that. Then, if we do go over the edge, watch how the American people respond to what happens when the industry grinds to a halt, and see if we can't use the leverage we have in that moment and in our retaliating, our counter tariff packages to get to a table where we're actually negotiating. Like, bring forward the USMCA negotiations by a year. See if we can't get all of this nonsense into a place, into a document. Right now, we aren't negotiating. We are watching Truth Social or whatever he blurts out in the Oval Office, and we are reacting. We can't force him to be a little bit more process-oriented. But if he takes his own economy and his own auto industry over the edge, my bet is there'll be a lot of people around him who will be looking to try to fix this and have him also save face, and the USMCA table might be it.
Flavio, always appreciate your perspective on the show. Thanks very much for being here this morning.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime.
Flavio Volpe is the president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. Maybe the negotiating table is the place this all gets settled. I guess that could be the end goal. I think I picked up a little something in there, though, about the possibility of this being the distraction from the war plans that were leaked via a group chat on the messaging app Signal. Oh, we want to distract from this over here, so let's apply the tariffs over there. Regardless, here we are again, looking forward to, with a good deal of trepidation and uncertainty, to next Thursday when these tariffs will be implemented. Your thoughts always welcome on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Canadian auto parts suppliers have 170 factories, the equivalent of probably 4 or 5 car plants, $10 billion of investment capital in the U.S., 26 states employing 47,500 Americans. So absolutely nobody's modeled this. And he just dropped it on everybody in the middle of the day on Wednesday, and we're stuck with it.
We are stuck with it. Unless, of course, it changes between now and next Thursday, which would not be without precedent, naturally. That's Flavio Volpe, president of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, giving us some perspective on the impact on the global automotive industry, thanks to these 25% tariffs being implemented by U.S. President Donald Trump. I confess to not knowing my history well enough, and I only learned this morning through a story I read in the paper that this entire confrontation, if you will, is not without precedent. You go back to 1890, when our beautiful country was a mere generation old, and some guy by the name of Sir John A. Macdonald was our prime minister. I know his name is not the most popular these days, but nonetheless, he was our prime minister, and he was facing William McKinley in the United States, and McKinley had a very strong desire to do then what Donald Trump is attempting to do now, essentially take over, annex, move into Canada. And even when we were but a generation old, it didn't work then. Macdonald and his conservative government stood up to it, and we shall see. I mean, I don't think it will work now, and I can't for the life of me understand why somebody close to Donald Trump has not explained to him the negative impacts this is going to have on his labor force and on his economy. Speaking of that conservative Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald, way back in 1890, I'm still very curious about the approach that our Conservative Party here today is taking to all of this. It was business as usual for Pierre Poilievre and his campaign yesterday. Yes, when asked by reporters about the tariff threat, he issued I would call it a pretty good response. And this will be a theme running through the show today. Whose approach do you appreciate more? What Mark Carney is doing as Liberal leader, what Pierre Poilievre is doing as Conservative leader. But I think we've talked for a while about the Conservatives having to pivot on their election strategy here. They can't continue an election strategy or a campaign as though they're the front runners, because if nothing else, it's a dead heat right now. And we saw Mark Carney leave the campaign trail and play prime minister again for a moment, and he'll continue to do that today. That is the role, obviously, that he was elected to as Liberal leader, and we'll see how it all plays out. But I feel as though the Liberal Party's messaging on this has been more consistent, more to the point, more to the issue of the day. And I'm waiting for the Conservatives to pick up that same torch and run with it for a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the days ahead. It's still early days of the campaign, but I'm surprised that the Conservative strategy has not yet pivoted. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show today, this is a playoff game day in Kitchener. Rangers opening their first round tonight on home ice. And it just so happens that I have 4 pairs of tickets to give away. 2 to the game tonight and 2 pairs to the game on Sunday. So if you are intelligent enough to answer a really easy Rangers trivia question, because that's the game we always play to give away tickets, really easy Rangers trivia, I'll invite you to give us a call right now and play the game with us for a chance to win a pair of tickets to either tonight's game or Sunday's game. You can be there at the Memorial Auditorium. 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Playoff tickets up for grabs on really easy Rangers trivia. Call us now. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The Kitchener Rangers open the playoffs tonight. Home ice. Pre-game coverage. Your Harris Law pre-game show gets underway at 6:30 right here on 570 News Radio. Paul Fixter and I will give you everything you need to be ready for the big game. But you know what I'd really like is to put you in the building with us. I've got Rangers playoff tickets to give away to either the game tonight or the game on Sunday. 2 pairs for each. So 4 tickets for tonight, 4 tickets for Sunday. And all you have to do is answer your really easy Rangers trivia question, because that's how I like to play. I want people to win. Dan is on the phone with us. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Mike.
Would you like to go to one of the playoff games this weekend?
I think that'd be a great idea.
All right, I love it, Dan. Okay, this is called Really Easy Rangers Trivia because I want you in the arena with me, okay?
Let's hear it.
All right. Dan, who are the Kitchener Rangers going to play in the first round starting tonight?
I believe they're playing the Flint Firebirds.
They are playing the Flint Firebirds. Dan, congratulations. You just won a pair of tickets to the game.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
You're very welcome, my friend. Here's your choice. Would you like to go tonight or would you like to go on Sunday?
I think tonight would be great.
Okay, then you're in for a pair tonight. I'm going to put you on hold. Devin's going to take down your info, and we'll get you hooked up with a pair of tickets for tonight's game.
See you there.
I'm looking forward to it, Dan. Thank you very much. Well done, sir. Well done. We got time for one more pair before we get to the 10 o'clock news. Dave, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Glad to hear it. Are you ready for your really easy Rangers trivia question?
I am.
All right, Dave. Here it is. Please name for me the captain of the Kitchener Rangers.
I believe it's Andonovsky.
You believe? I believe you are correct, sir. Congratulations.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well done by you. I have 1 pair of tickets left for tonight's game, 2 pairs of tickets for Sunday. You're an early bird, so you get your choice. When would you like to go to the game, Dave?
I think I'll take Sunday.
Sunday afternoon is for you. I'm going to put you on hold. Devin will take down your information, and we'll see you at the rink too, okay?
All right. Thanks, buddy.
You're welcome, Dave. Thanks for playing really easy Rangers trivia. We got a pair of tickets left for tonight's game. We got a pair of tickets left for Sunday's game. I think I can come up with a couple more really easy Rangers trivia questions before the end of the show today. So stay with us because we want to put your bum and the bum of a friend in a seat at the Memorial Auditorium for the game tonight or the game on Sunday. Rangers, Firebirds, playoffs getting underway. And this, of course, is your home for Kitchener Rangers hockey through the regular season and the postseason as well. Okay, let's get you to the 570 News Center for an update. And then federal housing funding coming to both Kitchener and Waterloo. What are we going to do with it? How did we earn it? That conversation coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers. Well, a little something from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation landed in my inbox last week. It says Government of Canada awards $74 million to top performing Housing Accelerator Fund communities. And then the list of all of those successful communities is below. And wouldn't you know, you see Kitchener, $4.2 million, and you see Waterloo, $1.35 million from this Housing Accelerator Fund. Joining us to talk more about it, the Mayor of Waterloo, Dorothy McCabe, is with us this morning. Good morning, Mayor McCabe.
Good morning, Mike.
And the Mayor of Kitchener joins us as well. Barry Verbanovic is here. Mayor Verbanovic, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Mike. A real pleasure to join you again.
Always a pleasure to get your perspective on these things. And Mayor McCabe, I'll start with you. The Housing Accelerator funding for Waterloo, $1.35 million. What does that money help you do at the city?
Oh, well, we're really pleased to receive this money. And I also just want to say hi to my colleague, Barry. I think this is the first time. No, this is the first time we've been jointly on your show, Mike. So hope it's not the last. So hello, Barry. So we're really pleased, to initially have received the $22 million in January 2024. And then to receive this top-up in recognition of the work that staff and the community have done over the past year. It's really tremendous. And the purpose of this additional money that the federal government is providing is for enabling, as of right, redevelopment places of worship. So we know there's a lot of places of worship in the community who are, who have large properties, lots of land, declining populations, unfortunately. And so they have been coming to us and to the region and to other municipalities to say, we have ideas about redeveloping this land. So this will allow us to, create an inventory and to proactively carry out planning, assessments, and associated official plan amendments and zoning bylaw amendments needed to permit the redevelopment of these places of worship. So we're really excited about this, and we're raring to go.
I can certainly get behind an idea like that. Certainly, we've seen that there is ample land if we can free it up and find ways to make use of it. Mayor Verbanovic, from Kitchener's perspective, what does the $4.1 million do?
Yeah, thanks, Mike, and couldn't agree more with Mayor McCabe. Great to have both of us on the show with you. The funding was made available to municipalities who were achieving their goals or surpassing their goals in terms of the original funding. Kitchener got $42.4 million, and we were eligible for up to 10%, and got awarded the full amount just before the election was called, of an additional $4.2 million. For us, it'll really be focused on looking at some new community improvement programs from a planning perspective. And what those will allow us to do is finding additional ways to get more housing built quicker. So one of the things, for example, where we've seen huge success has been in terms of the missing middle. And we've seen 70% growth in building permits for triplexes, fourplexes, and backyard ADUs. And so we want to find ways of further accelerating that, because we know that's a quick way to get more housing built in our communities as quickly as possible. And then there's some other alternatives that we're going to explore some more, including office to residential conversions and a few other ideas that we're pursuing as part of that process.
Mayor Verbanovic, when you look at the funding, the $42 million in the first round, the 10% top-up of 4.2 now, what has the city been doing? What has it accomplished that brings us to this point?
Yeah, so we've seen good success in many of our 44 actions that were both part of our Housing for All strategy as well as the specific categories that we had as part of the HAF application. But some of the successes we've seen over the past year or so has included providing parcels of city-owned land to local nonprofits for affordable housing on 3 sites throughout the city. The partnership with Habitat for Humanity at Ottawa and River. We've got our Wellington Street site, and then, of course, the new Fire Hall site that we recently announced in downtown Kitchener that will also have housing of at least 150 units. We've waived development fees for nonprofits and introduced a not-for-profit affordable rental and co-op housing incentive grant, and that has distributed $5.2 million in funding, as well as new policies and bylaws to support low-cost housing options and affordable housing projects through things like inclusionary zoning, our lodging house bylaw, and a rental replacement bylaw as well.
Mayor McCabe, in Waterloo, what accomplishments have you seen that have allowed this funding to flow down?
Very similar to some of the initiatives that Barry mentioned, because to get this money and then to get the top up, a lot of the work was around streamlining development processes and doing some zoning, upzoning and changing some of the bylaws. So we've certainly been doing all of that kind of work as well. But our we kind of did a go big or go home approach in Waterloo. But the big work that we're doing with our Housing Accelerator, the $22 million that we received, is working with Build Now and Habitat for Humanity. Build Now, again, is that private, the nonprofit and the for-profit developers who come together to work on how to work with a nonprofit like Habitat for Humanity to build affordable housing. So our big initiative is the 2025 University Avenue project, where we're looking at building about 1,000 deeply affordable and attainable housing units. So that's the significant work that we're doing on that, and we're going to have shovels in the ground probably mid-fall or late 2025. But we're really, really excited about that work. And I just wanted to add, too, on the places of worship piece, that the region, as regional councillors, we recently through the budget process, staff added a position to assist with some of the work on helping places of worship understand what they can do and what's possible with their properties. There's a regional staff person who's acting almost like a consulting, kind of like a consulting service, to just because people who run places of worship aren't lawyers and aren't developers. So this is to give them some advice on what's possible, and then to work with the area municipalities on doing those conversions. So that's an important piece of the places of worship piece too that I wanted to ensure people are aware of.
Waterloo Mayor Dorothy McCabe, Kitchener Mayor Barry Verbanovic joining us on the show this morning. Collectively, $6.5 million coming from the federal government's Housing Accelerator Fund, $4.2 million to Kitchener, $1.35 to the city of Waterloo. We'll take a quick break, come back with more as we continue the conversation on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. And we continue our conversation this morning with Kitchener Mayor Barry Verbanovic, Waterloo Mayor Dorothy McCabe, both cities identified in a media release from Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, getting some funding. $74 million total funding coming from the Housing Accelerator Fund, $4.2 million of it to Kitchener, $1.35 to the city of Waterloo. Mayor Verbanovic, you mentioned before that this announcement was made just before we launched into a federal election. Does that mean that this money is assured regardless of the outcome of the election?
So, great question, Mike, and it's a little bit of a yes and a little bit of a no. And so here's the reality behind it. The funding that we got, part of it was tacked on to years 1 and 2 of the HAF funding the municipalities already received. but 2/3 of it will actually be tacked onto years 3 and 4, which will be in October of this year and October of next year. And so, one of the things that we as municipalities are going to be looking at very closely during this election is the platforms of each of the political parties. We know, for example, that the Conservatives have said that they will actually be taking years 3 and 4 of this funding and repurposing it to fund their GST commitment. And so that is something that would actually be detrimental to municipalities because we wouldn't be able to make the investments that we're already planning for.
Mayor McCabe, the City of Waterloo, under the plan provincially, is to build 16,000 homes by 2031. Obviously, you've been doing some work. This funding continues to help move you in that direction. How confident are you about meeting that target?
And I have to say, correct the record a little bit, and thanks for the question. The City of Waterloo, we have achieved our 2024 housing targets, provincial housing targets, although we are waiting for. We were talking to the previous minister, and now we'll restart those conversations with the new minister about, because there's still problems with the way CMHA, which is federal, and Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, and the way that municipal affairs and housing were counting starts. So we still need to get that in writing, to get that all clarified. But so that's all that to say and it was reported in January that we had no housing starts. We actually had close to 80. So there are some still going ahead. A lot of it's rental properties and that. And as we know, as we've been widely reported, we've got a lot of housing that we have approved that are, condos and large rental properties and that. So we are continuing to work with those developers and in good faith and working through some of the issues. And I'm still very confident that we'll at the end of the day, because we do have a decade to meet those housing targets. But we do need, people to understand again that the municipalities, we do the approvals in that. We don't actually put the shovels in the ground, with the exception of the project that we're doing at 2025 University Avenue. Like we're much more involved with that one. But the market conditions right now are just really, really tough for developers and for the industry. So we'll look to see after the federal election is over and with the provincial budget coming down, what might be in there that may be there to kind of help move some of these projects along. But beyond that, we'll still wait to see how the market conditions will improve or when they'll improve, and when that happens, I'm very confident shovels will get in the ground.
Yeah, that's another whole aspect of the conversation: the market conditions, and absolutely. Mayor Verbanovic, regionally, it's 70,000 homes that were to build according to the province. The 16,000 is the share for Waterloo. Kitchener's share 35,000. How confident are you that Kitchener can meet the target?
Yeah, Mike, we're actually feeling very good about it. In the first year, we attained 139% of our target, and we're fortunate enough to get $14 million through the province's Building Faster Fund. Last year, and we're waiting to see those final numbers, but all indications are we've met our target and maybe even surpassed it a little bit again, which is exciting. As Mayor McCabe said, it hasn't been easy. I mean, this is a tough market for developers in terms of getting more housing built, but we know it's a priority. If housing supply is key in order to get housing costs down. We can go on to a whole other show around tariffs and how that's going to impact housing prices on both sides of the border, but that's something that's a reality that's going to, feed into this situation as well.
It's great to get the both of you on the show together. As Mayor McCabe said at the outset, maybe we can do it again sometime, but really appreciate both of you carving out time in your day to join us this morning. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Barry.
Take care.
Appreciate the opportunity, Mike.
Waterloo Mayor,
have a great weekend.
You too. Waterloo Mayor Dorothy McCabe, Kitchener Mayor Barry Verbanovic joining us on the program this morning to respond to what we learned late last week from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, and that is that the government of Canada is awarding $74 million to the top performing communities with the Housing Accelerator Fund. Kitchener and Waterloo included among those top performing communities. Kitchener gets $4.2 million. Waterloo gets $1.35 million. Noticeably absent, of course, not to pick on them, but you might be wondering, where's Cambridge in all of this? It did not qualify, not on the list from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. And I know there has been some back and forth between the city of Cambridge and the province of Ontario as well in terms of how these housing starts get counted. You heard Mayor McCabe allude to that. So we'll see if something happens down the road for Cambridge, but right now, not on this particular list. And just to take that half a step further, you hear Mayor McCabe talk about the dispute or discrepancy around the counting. We know that Cambridge is going through the same thing. That's with the province counting the housing starts. How do you identify a housing start? Then you've got the money that comes federally. There's a whole hell of a lot that kind of gets in the way of housing being built, to say nothing of the market conditions. I think that's a fair statement, isn't it? This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
You could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well.
Oh, a little bit of Gord's Gold. Hey, it's Friday. Game day, baby. Playoff game day. And, of course, an all-request Friday here on the program. Marianne wanted to hear some Gordon Lightfoot, If You Could Read My Mind, and so Marianne gets to hear Gordon Lightfoot, because that's how All Request Friday works. If you'd like to hear a song today, let us know. Mike at 570news.com is the email address, or when you call in to talk about the various issues we talk about, let Devin Robertson, DJ Dev, the guy on the other side of the glass today, know what song you would like to hear. We'll play a little bit of it for you as we go through the show today. As I mentioned, playoff game day. Rangers taking on the Flint Firebirds tonight to open their first round playoff series. There's another game at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium on Sunday. I have a pair of tickets for each of those games, and I'm going to give them away to you sometime today between noon and 1. So if you would like to win tickets to either the game tonight or the game on Sunday, make sure you're still with us between noon and 1 today, and we'll give you the chance to win those tickets by playing really easy Rangers trivia. And trust me, it is really easy because I want to give you the tickets. It's that simple. So between noon and 1 today, more Rangers tickets to give away. Speaking of the Kitchener Rangers and playoff game day, baby, we're going to get you set for tonight's game. The Coaches Show, the other Coaches Show, both coming up right after this on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. "68 games, 6 months, and finally, we are here. Game 1 of the playoffs. Rangers taking on the Flint Firebirds tonight at the Memorial Auditorium. And as we do every Friday morning at this time, we are joined by Rangers head coach Jussi Ahokas for the Coaches Show. Good morning, Jussi.
Good morning.
We are finally here. Game number 69 tonight. How does it feel to be starting the playoffs?
Well, it's good. It's good. Excited. Whole year we've been practicing for this, and now we'll see how we've done the year and how ready we are. So it's good.
Was it difficult at all over the last month or so of the season when your playoff spot was basically wrapped up?
I thought the boys did a good job. We kept working hard, and we know the goal is to play right now the best hockey, and you have to do your best the whole 3-4 weeks that you get yourself the best chance to do well in playoffs. So we did a good job on that, and we got to practice also. So, but of course, like this week, you can see everybody's waiting the games to begin, but it's good. The whole team's excited, yeah.
How did you spend this week, UC, getting ready for tonight?
Yeah, we're practicing. Just we had a Monday off and Tuesday and Thursday, good practices, and just preparing and getting to know what to do against Flint, and all in all, also relaxing. And some boys got some great haircuts also. So,
are any of them going to look like me tonight, UC?
No, not like you.
Not like
they actually have some hair.
Okay.
Except our assistant coach Flinner.
Last year's team, UC, when the season started, everybody thought, I don't know, maybe this is a rebuilding year, and you finish fourth. Same thing this year. People said this is definitely a rebuilding year, and you finish third in the conference. Are there differences between this team this year and last year's team as you come into the playoffs?
I think we're more of a team. We play better together. All in all, it's been 2 years, so we've been working on. So the boys know our style, how we want to play, and they've been building onto the culture. So it's a good step from last year.
When you talk about that culture, what is it that you expect? What is the culture of a Kitchener Ranger now?
Well, we always work hard. We play for each other. We have each other's backs. All in all, those are the big things. But we have a good time. But when we work hard, and we're a team.
What challenges do the Flint Firebirds present to you?
Well, they're a hard-working team. They're a good rush team, so our defense have to be dialed in, and they have some good top-line forwards. They're top 6 forwards, or I think they have talent there, and they have a good goalie, so we have to be able to create traffic in front of Day, and all in all, we have to be smart managing the puck. But it's more of it's time to big boy hockey and play smart and play for the team, but yeah, it'll be a good. We've been waiting. It'll be a good series for sure.
How important is it to have home ice advantage?
I think it's always important, and we were actually point wise we were the second in the league, and we it's good we get the home ice for now, but it's I think with our fans and just our building and all in all, I think it's really important.
Can't wait for the puck to drop tonight. UC, thanks for being here this morning.
All right, thanks a lot.
UC Ahokas, the head coach of the Kitchener Rangers. Some of the boys got some nice haircuts. It always happens at playoff time. Do you remember what year? Well, anyway, Peter Kanko, and he did I think it was a pink mohawk, right? It was definitely pink hair. Anyway, playoff beards, they're passé. And besides, this is junior hockey. Not everybody can grow a full beard like the older hockey players in the National Hockey League. So in the Ontario Hockey League, it's usually a special haircut. And some of the boys, UC says, got special haircuts. We'll see that as they stand on the blue line for the anthem tonight with their helmets off. Remember, by the way, I'm just going to, for a second, remind you when we're talking about the anthems, it is a U.S.-based team here in Kitchener tonight, the Flint Firebirds. We have U.S. players on the Kitchener Rangers. Don't boo the damn anthem. Do not do that. We're better than that, Kitchener. Let's show how much better we are than that, okay? Game 1, Rangers, Firebirds tonight. When UC talked about that culture, when we have a good time, we have a good time. But when it's time to work, we work hard. It reminds me of one of my favorite movie quotes ever from the movie The Green Book. If you haven't seen it, go and see or find it, stream it, whatever you do to get movies these days. It's fantastic. And this quote stood out to me.
Whatever you do it 100%. When you work, work. When you laugh, laugh. When you eat, Eat like it's your last meal.
There you go. Whatever you do it 100%. So when it's time to relax at 100%. But when it's time to work, do it at 100% as well. And that's what the Kitchener Rangers have done all season long. 100 points, 47 wins. And really, none of it matters anymore, because what matters now is what you do in the playoffs. They start tonight. We will get you started with pregame coverage at 6:30. We will carry you right through Rangers talk after the game, taking your calls, talking about the Kitchener Rangers game, talking about the OHL playoffs in general, just celebrating junior hockey right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. Paul Fixter and I will be on the air with pregame coverage at 6:30, and we're with you for about 5 hours through the night, all hockey, all the time. Playoff game day, baby. And Paul Fixter joins us for the Other Coaches Show right after this on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. T-minus 7 hours, 45 minutes till pre-game time on 570 News Radio. That's when Paul Fixter and I will be in the arena setting the scene for the opening faceoff versus the Flint Firebirds. And as he has done all season long, Fixie joins me now for the Other Coaches Show. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Mike. And you know what dawned on me as I was listening to you? A week from now when we speak, we could be talking about a Series 1 victory. That's how fast it goes.
Funny you should say that, Fixie, because I neglected to mention at the beginning of the show today, and I intended to. How about our boy Brownie in this morning's Waterloo Region Record, Josh Brown, who's the beat reporter for the Rangers, picking the Rangers in a sweep?
Well, it kind of took me by surprise to some extent because, first of all, it's really tough to sweep a team, especially a team that we've played 4 times. 3 of the 4 have gone to shootout or overtime and have all been 1-goal games. To me, it seems like these teams are closer than not. And to pick a 4-game sweep is quite a bold prediction by Brownie.
I like the way, though, that he rationalized it, because he said this is the way the Rangers win. 1-goal games, shootout, overtime, whatever it takes, they just grind it out. And it speaks to that culture that UC Ahokas talked to us about a moment ago, how hard this team works. They just go out there and they put on their work boots and they get to work.
Well, I like that. I did listen. And his definition of the culture is work hard, stay together, and the team is first. And we've certainly seen that all year long, Mike. And this is a tight-knit group. We see that. The fans see it on a nightly basis when the team plays. We see it when we're traveling with the team on the bus, at team meals, et cetera, et cetera. We see how tight this group is. And they do work hard, and they do stick together. No question about it.
So if you were to make the case, Paul, what is the biggest threat that the Flint Firebirds throw the Rangers' way?
Well, they have a pretty good goaltender too, Mike. Edmonton prospect day. And, you know, goaltending is such an important part of any game, and especially the playoffs. And we know goaltenders can steal a series. Our goaltender, I believe, is better, much better, but theirs is pretty good too. That to me is the big question. And the coach said we need traffic in front of Day and smart hockey. So there's two variables for me, Mike: playing discipline and getting to Day. If the team's able to do that, they should get through this series. I don't see a sweep. I'd love a sweep, but I would think I can see it in 5 games.
Did it surprise you to look at the roster, and I confess it surprised me, and find that the Flint Firebirds actually have one more NHL prospect on their roster than the Rangers have on theirs, 6-5?
It did actually surprise me, but now they do have a couple of key injuries as well of players that they're going to miss. So that, and I've always said, you know, we've talked about what it takes to win in the playoffs. Well, the healthier team typically wins, and the Rangers, knock on wood, are in good health. Flint isn't, and that's a bit of a detriment for them.
Yeah, you almost feel bad for them. And I say that because, of course, I'm a Rangers fan. I'm not going to make any bones about that. But really, Flint went out and in the off-season made that deal with Sudbury, Nolan Collins, Evan Conyon, and both of them now. These are guys that they anticipated being a key part. They're overagers, a key part of a Flint Firebirds run. It's been a tougher season than perhaps the Firebirds thought it would be, and now here they are in the playoffs missing those two guys. That's big.
Yeah, it is big, and you're right. They did go out and targeted those players. Bit of a veteran lineup. It's a team, Mike, that you can't underestimate. They play physical. Clattenburg, they've got some good players. Sam McHugh, Toronto draft pick. You can't take this team lightly, and I will say this. They're a team that plays a heavy game. You need to put your work boots on and be ready to play a heavy game. Flint plays a heavy game. They're not going to roll over, that's for sure. They've got, how about, I read the story the other day, too, about Jack Darcy, how excited for him to be in the playoffs playing against a team he grew up following, the Kitchener Rangers, and, of course, well, to him being from Cambridge. But I think, Mike, you turn the script, you turn the page, and you move on. It's a new season, and anything can happen. As you know, you've been around long enough. You've seen it before. Brown even mentioned in this story about 2 years ago when the 8 seed Kitchener upset the number 1 seed.
Only time in history an 8 swept a 1 in the OHL playoffs. So, okay, enough about Flint. Let's talk about our Kitchener Rangers, Paul. And I've been impressed as all get out with this team and its consistency. Never having lost 3 in a row in regulation, down the stretch when the games were virtually meaningless, just continuing to play that consistent brand of Kitchener Rangers hockey. And I think that bodes very well for this team as it enters what could be a deep playoff run.
There's 2 things that really stick out, Mike, for me, and that's the number of come-from-behind wins that the Rangers have achieved this season. So that means they don't quit. They just keep, regardless of the score, they just keep going. And the number of close games, 1-goal games, that they were in, and not only in, but won. Those are 2 really good factors on the Rangers side, I do believe, as we head into the playoffs.
Fixie, what's it like being on that bench for a playoff game in the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium? I'm just trying to get a sense of any home ice advantage that is present here.
Well, I agree with the coach. Anytime you get home ice advantage, it certainly is an advantage. You get last change, and the crowd gets into it. I used to get nervous, Mike, twice a year. The first game of the season for some reason, and the first game of the playoffs. It's just it's a different level. And I used to have the nerves and the butterflies going and all that until, you get settled down. And I think it's important that you do get settled down quickly because these series go fast. It's every other day. And that's why a week from now we could be talking about a series victory or a series upset or talking about Game 5. Like, it just goes so fast. So you need to find your game and find it quickly. And you need to bring it to a different level. The intensity in the building increases. The intensity on the ice better increase because the team that does increase their intensity typically wins.
It is wild, isn't it? Tonight, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and if necessary, 1 week from today, a 5th game in this first round.
Well, Mike, I was listening to your show yesterday about skipping out on school, work, whatever, going to the Blue Jays game, those sorts of things. And I was going to call in. I'm glad we're facing Flint because if we were facing Sault Ste. Marie, I would have, for the first time, not shown up for work.
You would have got some Sioux flu, Fixie.
I would have had the Sioux flu. I was coming up with any excuse. I was listening to all of your callers calling in and different excuses they had over the years. I would have been calling the games from a television, I believe, in Southern Ontario. I'm just so grateful that we have Flint, which is a little over 3 hours, versus Sioux, which is a little over 8 hours.
Absolutely.
And it's nice. It's a new opponent for the fans to see. These two have never hooked up in the playoffs.
I've always wanted to be at a playoff game in the Dort, so that dream will come true next week for me. I mean, I dream big, Fixie, as you can tell.
I do, Mike. I do like what you mentioned about the anthem too. Let's be classy here and not let politics come into a sporting event.
I love it, Fixie. Let's just all go and enjoy the sporting event. Put your worries behind you when you walk through that door of the Memorial Auditorium tonight.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a love fest. There's a lot of hate here, but let's not let the politics get into it.
Couldn't agree more.
Just enjoy the game.
Fixie, I know we will, and I'll see you at the rink later on today.
I look forward to it, Mike. Thanks.
Paul Fixter, the other coach. Of course, he was a coach here in Kitchener. He was a coach in Sudbury. He's a two-time Stanley Cup winner with the Colorado Avalanche. No big deal. Paul Fixter, our color commentator right here on your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey. And because we are your home, we've got you covered from pillar to post starting at 6:30 with your Harris Law pregame show. It will carry right through Rangers Talk, our post-game show, taking your calls, talking about the OHL playoffs, brought to you by You Save Flooring. All of that right here on 570 News Radio as the Kitchener Rangers get the playoffs underway versus Flint tonight. Playoff game day, baby. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. We are about to send you to the 570 News Center for an update, and then it is our Friday for Roundtable for another Friday morning. We do it every Friday from 11 until noon, getting you some different perspectives on the week's big stories. And yes, we will talk Trump. We will talk about this federal election and more. That's coming up right after this update from the 570 News Center right here on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Every Friday, 11 until noon, the chance to get some different perspectives on the week's big stories. And those sharing their perspectives with us today, Joanne McNeish is here, Associate Professor of Marketing at Toronto Metropolitan University. Joanne, good morning. I hope Joanne can hear me. Let's try Neil next. Neil Anstead is with us, a ward councillor in Listowel, representing the municipality of North Perth. Neil, good morning. We are not getting audio to our guests right now. I see Tom Galloway there as well. Tom Galloway, former regional councillor and longtime timekeeper with the Kitchener Rangers. He's going to be at the rink tonight. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Mike.
All right, we have our audio connection. Neil Anstead with us as well, ward councillor in Listowel in the municipality of North Perth. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, Mike. Happy to be back.
Happy to have you back. And Joanne McNeish is with us as well, who is an associate professor of marketing at Toronto Metropolitan University. Joanne, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
I'd like to start with you on this one, Joanne, and I know it's a big, hairy question, but my goodness gracious, how do we deal with Donald Trump? It depends on which way the wind's blowing, perhaps.
So let me take it this way. I'm looking at the initiatives that are being pushed out rapidly at the federal and provincial level. And the one that struck me as the most interesting, and I'll get there, Mike, I am going to connect this to Trump. The premiers and the prime minister are going to get together and have a national trade policy. In other words, theoretically, and their story is, and they're sticking to it, is they are going to harmonize across this country all the provincial regulations around trade. Now, that I'm making a bolder statement than they did. But it did strike me as ironic is that when you make an enemy of somebody else, now, all of a sudden, a group of people who couldn't get along before suddenly decide, well, at least we better negotiate well with each other. And our current prime minister claims he's going to get that done by July. So I'm thinking, well, could Trump be good for us? Could we start fixing up a number of things that we've allowed to drift because we got complacent? Could it be better in the short term? It's quite a problem for many industries, but could it in fact cause them to open up new markets, redo the way they do things? In other words, it's a complete refresh of the way we do things in Canada. And there's been a number of prime ministers that have literally destroyed the manufacturing system in this country. Could it be that we will rebuild? because our current Prime Minister is talking about trying to create a Made in Canada card. I don't for or against that, but what I'm saying is, could this ultimately, after a period of pain, be a good thing for Canada, and therefore has Trump done us a favor?
Yeah, maybe a bit of a silver lining there. Neil, how do you see the problem that is, or maybe the opportunity that is, Donald Trump?
Well, it's an interesting question, Mike, and I think we've seen this. And to be clear, this isn't new. We've seen this in his last administration as well. I think what President Trump's doing is he's following the playbook from his first term, where throw so much stuff out there, confuse people, and then we'll do what we want. So I think that it's coming right from the Steve Bannon playbook. We saw this in the first administration under Donald Trump. How do you negotiate? That's my question, is how do you negotiate with someone where the goalposts continuously move? When you think you have an agreement in place, you think you have a framework in place, and that changes seemingly day by day, I don't really know what you do from a negotiating standpoint. To Joanne's point, I think it's great that we're starting to harmonize some of the things here in Canada. At the end of the day, Canada is a strong country. It always has been, and it always will be. And I think that what we're doing here in terms of getting everybody on the same page in terms of inter-provincial trade, that's what we need to do, because at the end of the day, we can't be relying on people like Donald Trump to dictate what we're going to do or not do.
Out of curiosity right now, Neil, as somebody who's sitting on a municipal council, how much impact is there for you and your fellow councillors in North Perth?
Yeah, so there is, and that's a great point. So we actually started to harmonize some things in terms of our procurement policies, some Buy Canada policies that we started to put into place. One thing that we did realize going through this whole exercise is just how dependent we are on how interconnected everything is in terms of the trading relationship between Canada and the United States. But obviously, it's having an effect on us. We've had to change some policies, and some things that we were going to do in terms of procurement are not going to happen now because we can't get those supplies per se.
Tom Galloway, I'm sure there's a small part of you that says, thank goodness I got out of municipal council before this second term rolled around with Donald Trump.
Every morning. Every morning, Mike. No, I think Joanne makes a very good point. There's a saying in governance, never let a good crisis go to waste. And so this crisis has created a sense of urgency that then incents certain things to get done that were stalemated previously. And the interprovincial trade barriers is certainly one of those. And I think it was Chrystia Freeland who said that in some commodities, just breaking down the interprovincial trade barriers will replace any market loss that we may have with the tariffs, because we'll be able to sell to ourselves rather than sell to people south of the border if it gets tariffed and becomes too expensive. But as far as Trump is concerned, Neil's right. I mean, every day it's a different tariff, or it's a different version of the tariffs. He's a bully. And the way to treat a bully is to push back. You have to push back. Bullies will just keep pushing and bullying unless you push back. So we're going to have to do our retaliatory tariffs. He says he's going to retaliate to the retaliatory tariffs. But, you know, this playbook he's playing out of, as Neil alluded to, the shock and awe, flood the zone, Steve Bannon playbook. They're executing that Project 2025, the document that Trump knew almost nothing about during the election, and they're ticking off the boxes one by one. Every day there's another tick in the box. So in the States, the Democrats are not being able to be particularly effective, but there are a variety of court challenges that have been effective to this point to push back on Trump. We'll see how the Supreme Court deals with some of those once it gets to that level. But here in Canada, I think we're doing a good job in coming together, not just on things like interprovincial trade, but coming together as a nation, becoming together as in kind of a united force to deal with. I've never seen so much Canadian spirit in the last month that I've seen over the decades, so to speak. So That's a good outcome, and but nonetheless, there will be some pain through this whole process.
Yeah, and to Joanne's point earlier, maybe this is thank you, Donald Trump, for helping to unite us to some degree. And we'll talk more about Canada's response to it, I think, when we get into the discussion about our federal election here as part of our Friday 4 roundtable this morning. Joanne McNeish, Neil Anstett, Tom Galloway with us on the Mike Farwell Show. Stay with us. We continue on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Well, it is a story that really resonated here in the region of Waterloo, and it's one that has played out in other municipalities across this province, in the Greater Toronto area, west of here, in and around Stratford, etc. It is what we do with the pride flag, particularly at our Catholic schools. And the Waterloo Catholic District School Board had a conversation about that on Monday night at its meeting, attended by hundreds of people. It's not often you get to see that kind of response to a school board meeting in one's community. So we'll talk about it here on our Friday 4 roundtable this morning with Neil Anstett, Tom Galloway, Joanne McNeish joining us. And Neil, I'll give you first crack at this one. What do you make of the motion that was brought forward to the Waterloo Catholic District School Board this week?
So initially, when I read it, my initial response was, here we go again. This is something that's happened over and over again throughout our province. And it's been interesting looking at this whole debate. A community, I'm sure you're familiar with it, Mike, Norwich, actually reversed their stance on this. So they had actually previously said that they were going to ban the pride flag, and then they came around and said, no, we're going to fly it again along with other community flags. So again, when I saw this, I just... personally, it makes me feel sad for the people that are affected by this. And I don't think anyone's going to argue that the Pride group has been discriminated against from the very beginning. So I think that this is very sad to see. Again, when you're talking, I know that it's the Catholic school makes it a different element, but at the same time, it's a flag. They deserve to have a flag flown. It's something that brings them together, and it's a flag. It's something that's happened for many, many years, and I don't see why it should stop.
Tom, what's your take on this?
Well, I have a little different perspective because I was a Catholic school trustee quite a number of years ago. I would say that's a long time ago. But I think this is symptomatic of a much bigger problem, that the school board has been taken over by the Gang of Five, who are all from the far alt-right group. And they have managed to get control of the board, control of all the committees, and control of the agenda. And this is just part of this is just a symptom of that problem. They've been systematically frustrating other trustees, having them resign so they can bring other people onto the board of like-mindedness, and trying to put into place, which is really kind of futile, because the curriculum and everything else is almost mandated by the province. And of course, they're publicly funded as well, so that they have to comply with all the laws and the curriculum that are put forward. But where they can, they've been trying to be influential, and books in the library, and now the gay pride flag. They've been very systematically trying to move that particular agenda. This is a movement that this organization is doing across the country, getting onto school boards, getting on in municipal councils, to very intentionally move the needle to the not. And I've got nothing wrong about the right, but this is alt-right stuff. This is way out there, and. On the substance of the matter itself, there are children who in the school system, both school systems, that have these kinds of sexual identity that need to be tolerated and need to be supported. And so I'm not surprised at all that it brought out a lot of people to this particular meeting. But I don't think the number of people that showed up at the board was necessarily there exclusively on the flag issue. I think a lot of people are just very concerned about the Gang of Five and how they're controlling this particular school board.
Given your previous experience on the board, Tom, one of the arguments that came up at the meeting on Monday was that this is not even an issue the board should be discussing and or deciding on. Are they out of their jurisdiction here?
Well, they can all. The board is always able to grab whatever jurisdiction they want. But years ago, the board decided to go to a policy governance model. And these kind of issues, such as what flags we're going to fly at the school, are operational. They're not board-inspired policies. So it's really up to the director of education and the staff to decide what flags should be flown at the school because of their policy governance model that they adopted a number of years ago and have not changed. But that's not to say that a board can make an exception, because they are the board after all. And that's in fact what this board is trying to do. They're trying to interject themselves into an operational matter that to them is very, very ideologically driven.
Joanne, I know this has happened in the Greater Toronto Area, particularly York as an example. What do you make of these movements to presumably ban pride flags?
So I guess for me, it has always been the mystery, and I understand how it came to be. But we have four educational boards in this province at a time when we have no money. And we continue to run four separate institutions, all funded by the public. So and what's happened is each of them runs very different policies. This is not the only policy that the Catholic Board takes a different view on. They discriminate in terms of hiring. You have to be a particular religion to get hired. So they do a lot of this kind of thing as a separate board. And so we've got a French board, a French public, a French Catholic, English public, and English Catholic. So we've got four boards that basically have systematically taken on a lot of different policies, all of which ultimately costs the same taxpayer money. So it doesn't surprise me that each board is going to operate they want. So when we think across all the cities in the province, if you actually examine all the different policies, we have people doing all kinds of random things because there is no ultimate authority for these four different boards who then operate within each of their cities and districts. So I think this is systemic of a wider problem. It just happens to pop up as to being a political one, a provocative one. But I think it's systematic of an issue where we're wasting a lot of money with this division of public money. I think it's time to consolidate, as we did with municipalities. It's time to reconsolidate the four boards.
Amen.
Would be my opinion.
If I were to take that back to your point about Donald Trump earlier, maybe this is an opportunity waiting for us here to recognize that publicly funded is publicly funded, and one publicly funded school board is what we need here. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Not a popular opinion, depending on which group you're in. But as a taxpayer, it's my opinion.
Yeah, and I mentioned it earlier this week on the show, and it wasn't the most popular. And I have come through the Catholic school system myself here. My father spent 33 years working in it. And I respect immensely the work that he did. But I'm leaning your way on that point, Joanne, for sure. Joanne McNeish, Neil Anstett, Tom Galloway with us on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning. A quick break, back with more on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Okay, so we've talked about the problem that is Donald Trump. We've talked about the problem that is four school boards in the province of Ontario. We are also, of course, in the midst of a federal election here in Canada. And I, for one, have a problem. I wonder how our guests will feel about it on the Friday 4 Roundtable. My problem is with these candidates that get parachuted into ridings. It happened in Waterloo. It's happening clear across the country. So we'll talk about that with our Friday 4 Roundtable. And, of course, the resurgence of the Liberal brand in Canada. Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre essentially running neck and neck in this federal election race here in Canada. So our Friday 4 Roundtable will discuss those stories as we continue this morning on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. Joining us on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning, Tom Galloway, who's a former regional councillor and school board trustee, also city councillor in Kitchener. Neil Anstett with us as well, a ward councillor in Listowel in the municipality of North Perth, and Joanne McNeish, who's an associate professor of marketing at Toronto Metropolitan University. Tom, I'll give you first crack at this next one, which is the election race here on this side of the border. We talked about Donald Trump in our first half. Let's talk about Mark Carney, Pierre Poilievre, and if you want to, Jagmeet Singh. I don't spend much time talking about him right now because I'm a jerk that way. Anyway, I'll just leave that over there. Sorry. But it's all of a sudden a dead heat, Tom. 4 months ago, it was a landslide for the Conservatives. Now, all of a sudden, it's a dead heat. Some polls even showing Mark Carney ahead. What do you make of this resurgence, Mr. Galloway?
Well, I mean, it's all quite circumstantial. What has happened in this period of time, where the numbers have done a complete reversal. So, first of all, the very unpopular Justin Trudeau resigned, and so that took a huge piece of baggage off the Liberal Party, and they brought in a leader who has some pretty serious economic credentials. Then you have what's happening south of the border, and certainly Doug Ford took great advantage of that during the recent election, in that issue, and that he was the person to deal with Trump and the tariffs and the 51st state and all those terrible things that Trump is doing, and unfortunately for Pierre Poilievre, he chose the wrong horse, and long ago chose to see that the country is broken, and millions and millions of dollars that got put into an advertising campaign that led to the popularity that he enjoyed in the polls, but then the rug kind of gets pulled out from under that argument with Trump. And now it's not about Canada being broken. Indeed, Canadians are quite united and want to keep things the way they are. So it's a real turn of events for him. As I said, he kind of picked the wrong horse. So now the election is about who is best to deal with the crisis. And people are voting, in the polling at least, that Carney is the person that they want to lead Canada because of his background, economic background, world experience, and his ability to stand up to Trump. Whereas Poilievre, unfortunately, has the reputation of being more like Trump. He's endorsed by Elon Musk. If Daniel Smith is endorsing him, these are not, when you have these kinds of friends as enemies, or I guess the saying is, who needs friends, or who needs enemies? So when you have friends like that, so it's circumstantial, but it's politics, and I think those 3 or 4 factors is what caused the turnaround.
It's worth noting, connected to that Donald Trump has posted just in the last 30 minutes or so on his social media platform that he has just finished speaking with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada, and it was an extremely productive call. They'll be meeting immediately after Canada's upcoming election to work on elements of politics, business, and all other factors. I don't know if Donald Trump is presuming something here, but Joanne, I'll bring it over to you to maybe explain.
I just want to say, Mike,
sure,
that Donald Trump has never had a bad call, has he? Every call has been the perfect call. So I'm sure this call was just perfect as well.
Make phone calls great again. I'm reading you, Tom Galloway. I'm reading you. Joanne McNeish, your thoughts on the resurgence of the Liberals and Mark Carney?
Oh, okay. So, you know me, I love a good set of numbers. There's no numbers that I don't love. So I went back to look at the effect of Kamala taking over from Biden. And I think we could argue it's not perfectly comparable because they vote for a president. We don't vote for a prime minister. We vote for a party. But in fact, exactly the same thing happened when Kamala came in, that, oh my God, look at this. She's pushing. She's going to take it. It was a great decision. I can't quite tell if that's absolutely the truth. So I actually looked at, well, what were Americans predominantly concerned about in August 2024? And the timing's not quite the same. But their big concern was actually the economy. Like it just almost, it was actually 40% of people were really concerned about the economy. When we look at a poll where people ask, like, who's best suited to deal, what are the issues that you're concerned about as Canadians in March 2025? The economy is not as important as the Canada-US relations. So I wonder if Canadians are going to vote for the person they feel best able to deal with Trump. And where I don't know how they'll fall on this, Trump endorsing a discussion with Carney says, well, to me that reads as I was able to easily manipulate him. Versus Trump never said anything about the productive call with Doug Ford. And I think we could agree that a bully deals, when you're dealing with a bully, you've got to act in the same way as the bully. You can't be backing down. So I'm not completely convinced we have the full answer yet. The other thing is, Canadians are funny creatures. Are polls the best way? No, the people that are polled on an online poll are the people that do things online. It's a complicated business now. So I think the only poll that's going to matter. So I'm not sure the Liberals have a majority yet. And I'm not sure the Conservatives, for sure the Conservatives don't have the majority, but could the Conservatives pull out a minority under this scenario? I think it's going to really depend on the next month, and also going to depend on the privacy of the polling booth, because I know we're always surprised when Trump won, but he won everything last time. And that suggests in the underground and the privacy of the polling booth, people are making a different decision than they tell pollsters. Now, that's often the case. So right now I'm calling this the Kamala effect. So I'm not sure yet what's actually going to happen on Election Day.
Yeah, and that, of course, is, as we always say, the only poll that matters is that on Election Day. Not to mention, to your point, Joanne, about polling, and those who tend to lean right are less trustful of polls and general mainstream media, for example, and may not even participate, so that might skew the numbers a little bit. I think those are fair considerations for sure. Neil, your thoughts on the resurgence of the Liberal brand?
Yeah, sure. And there's an old saying in politics, a week is an eternity. And I think that this is certainly in part and parcel of that. Looking at what's happened, I think it just goes to show, Tom touched on it already, just how unpopular Justin Trudeau was near the end of his term as prime minister. That was the first thing. And the second thing I'll say is that Pierre Poilievre was running a great campaign when he was running against Justin Trudeau, and he was running against Axe the Tax, and he was all these sorts of things. Now that all those things have gone away, it's a real issue. What is he running against? What does he want to bring to the table as Canada's prime minister and the next leader? So I think that if he goes on to lose this election, there's going to be a lot of soul searching in the Conservative Party, because for the last 8, 10, 15 months, they've been running against Justin Trudeau and all the things that Justin Trudeau stood for. And now we're in a crisis, and all these things are out the window. We're not worrying about how, like you mentioned, Canada's broken. It's how do we make sure that Canada stays strong and united? So it's really an interesting turn of fortunes. And again, all that matters is on Election Day. And I think, as most elections do, it's going to come down to the Greater Toronto area as who's going to decide who our next government is.
I've been thinking a lot, Neil, about what you allude to here. A week is a long time. This is what Pierre Poilievre was running on or as. And I'm surprised there hasn't been a pivot yet by the Conservatives. What about you?
Well, it's interesting. You're right. And looking at the Conservative pollster, Corey Teneke, that just came out and said that if they don't change their course, they're going to have an astounding defeat. So, I mean, the War Room and the Conservative Party has to be coming up with something. I would hope they are, because if they don't, this election's going to be over awful quick.
Neil Anstett, Tom Galloway, Joanne McNeish with us on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning. A quick break. And when we come back, those candidates that get parachuted in to a riding, it's not just happening in Waterloo. This is happening clear across the country. How do we feel about it? We'll find out from our guests right after this on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. 3 guests plus a host makes for 4 people. 4 topics that we discuss every Friday morning between 11 and noon on the Friday 4 Roundtable. And this story goes beyond the region of Waterloo, where in the riding of Waterloo, Val Meekman paid his dues for the Conservative Party, it would have seemed, leading the riding association, hoping to be the nominee selected at a nomination meeting, and instead there was no nomination meeting, and another candidate was parachuted in at the 11th hour and becomes the Conservative representative in Waterloo. I shared with our guests a story from Newfoundland and Labrador where the same thing is happening, and this is going on in many of the 343 ridings across the country during this federal election. Our guests on the Friday 4 Roundtable this morning, Joanne McNeish, Neil Anstett, Tom Galloway. Joanne, I'll start with you on this notion of parachuted candidates and what you think about people running in a community where they don't live.
So the whole point of democracy is that the person represents what's going on in the local area all the way up, whether it's provincial or federal. So I always hate when this happens. Because if you don't live somewhere, you don't understand the local issues. And that doesn't mean when you're at the provincial level or federal, you're not voting, taking all things into consideration. But the first thing should be a native understanding or a natural understanding of the key local issues. And I mean, the only excuse, and I'm only giving it as an excuse, and I don't even agree, is that they've got so little time. They've got to put in place people that they think are going to run. But I don't even like that, because, in fact, have they not realized the election was coming at some point? Well, it certainly was coming in that 4-year cycle next year, 4 to 5 year cycle. And obviously it got sped up. So they're doing, but as you said, it just keeps happening across this country. And I think picking your candidate that you like as a leadership, and we were just talking during the break, is the Conservative Party well enough organized? Are they perhaps divisive in themselves? And that's why we keep getting leaders that maybe can't push through and win the hearts of Canadians. So not in favor of this. Can't see a good reason to do it. I can find an excuse in this circumstance, but I don't think there's any reason to do it unless you think the system we've had doesn't work anymore. In other words, we're making a new system.
I've always wondered if somebody is having a favor returned to them by being declared the nominee. Neil, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, lots to unpack here, and this certainly is happening. It's happening in Guelph as well, Mike. I'm not sure if you're aware of that one, and also in British Columbia. And I think there's several things going on here, too. When you're looking at nomination races, especially at the local level, a lot of times when you have seats that are considered safe, you have a lot of people that are vying for those, because essentially if you win the nomination, you have a very strong chance of winning the general election. The other piece of it too, talking about people being rewarded, I think that plays into part of it as well. Party loyalists are being rewarded with these seats because they're looked at as somebody that served their time, and they're being given this post. Although I would point out it didn't work out all that well for the Kitchener Centre Conservative candidate in the last 2 elections, but that's neither here nor there. But again, the other thing, I'll play devil's advocate here. At the end of the day, the party leader also does have the ultimate authority to appoint people. They're the ones that are the head of the party, and if they want to appoint that person, then they do have the right. I mean, it doesn't pass the smell test as far as I'm concerned. And just one last point I'll make on nominations, and I've been laughed at and ostracized for this one, but I've said for years that all nomination contests should be run by Elections Ontario and Elections Canada. You can go all the way back to 2017, 2016 in the Ontario PC Party, allegations of ballot stuffing when Patrick Brown was the leader, because again, they were expected to win a large majority and a lot of people wanted to get those nominations. So I know that it will never happen, but if you want to have a fair and just system, you need to have it ran by a complete independent party.
You know what? I wouldn't dismiss it out of hand, Neil, because of the other point you made. It is within the powers of the party leader to appoint these nominees if that party leader so chooses. And I get it in certain circumstances, I suppose. But what bothers me is this is happening so consistently. It's almost like an abuse of that power or privilege. And it frustrates me as a voter, to go back to Joanne's point about it doesn't feel very democratic. Tom Galloway, thoughts here?
Well, I agree with what Neil and Joanne had said, of course, and I kind of rail against the parachuting. But and just so you know, I've never been a member of any party. I've never been a party member, but I've known a lot of party people who hold office or have held office, and almost to a person, they tell you that the nastiest politics in our country is the internal party politics. What you see in the House of Commons is child's play compared to what goes on in caucus, what goes on behind closed doors, what goes on in the offices of the party elite. And so I don't know what happened in Waterloo. It seems terrible of an individual who put all the time and effort into being a loyal party member, doing all the heavy lifting over a long period of time, and then all of a sudden is their opportunity to become the candidate is usurped. And I'm not quite sure what the purpose is in this case, because that's not a riding that's likely to change hands. If this was a star candidate that was going to change the face of the Conservative election prospect, well, that might be a different story. And that happens every once in a while, where some kind of a star candidate has to find a place, and the party seems to do that. But that's not the case here. So it's really hard to understand why they would do this to this individual, and the morale of the local riding association has to be decimated. But it does smack of some kind of favor being done for somebody, some kind of for future consideration kind of thing that's going on, that this person is going to put on their resume and move on up the ladder somehow in the party. But generally speaking, there shouldn't be any parachuting. I agree entirely with Joanne that local understanding, local knowledge, local connection is so important to dealing with constituents and constituent issues. Maybe on the broader policy issues across the country, where you come from isn't necessarily so important, but in all those other areas that MPPs as well do their work, it's really important to know your particular neighborhood. So this is really a puzzler to me because of the riding they've chosen to put this person in and the circumstances on which they're doing that. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I should note that I've learned in the last hour or so that Val Nieckman in Waterloo is going to try to run on his own record as an independent now in this upcoming federal election in Waterloo. So there you have it. And just like that, we're out of time for another Friday 4 panel. Joanne McNeish, Neil Anstett, Tom Galloway, thank you all very much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thanks very much, Mike.
And
Mike.
Tom, I'll see you at the game tonight, right?
You will. We'll have dinner with you. I'll pay for dinner.
Okay. As always, it's on Tom at the rink. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I always enjoy those opportunities on Friday mornings to hear different perspectives on the week's big stories. We talked about Donald Trump. We talked about pride flags and motions at our Catholic school board. We talked about the resurgence of the federal Liberal Party under Mark Carney. And we talked about those candidates being parachuted into ridings across this country during this federal election, including the Conservative candidate in Waterloo, Wasim Botros, who will run under the Conservative banner, and the man he's replacing, Val Nieckman, has decided to run independently. So just another monkey in the wrench of the federal election here locally. Maybe you agreed with what you heard during the Friday 4 roundtable this morning. Maybe you disagreed. The beauty of this show is that we go right from the roundtable on Friday mornings into Free Phones Friday. So the next 60 minutes belong to you. If you disagreed with something you heard, you can share your very own perspective on it, because we like to hear from you on this show. We like to hear the various perspectives. So for the next 60 minutes on Free Phones Friday, we will do just that. Hear your perspective on the week's big stories, a story today that's impacting you, anything else you want to talk about during Free Phones Friday. And one other thing we will do in the next 60 minutes is give away 2 pairs of tickets, playoff tickets for the Kitchener Rangers. I've got a pair for tonight's game and a pair for Sunday's game that we will give away during the next hour. So let's continue together here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage out of sight, or you don't go out Friday night.
Don't talk back.
Your Talkback Hour on Fridays is the Free Phones Friday version, where you make the call, start the conversation about whatever it is that's on your mind. We've got tariffs coming as of next Thursday. Is it Thursday? Yeah, I think it's Thursday that they'll start. And we've got a federal election race that continues to heat up, including with what you just heard from Matt Hutchison in our 570 News Center, a phone call with Prime Minister Carney, not Governor Carney. A very productive phone call, says U.S. President Donald Trump. Let's just begin by getting right to the phones so we can hear from you, and Gord will start us off. Good afternoon, Gord.
Storm Gord, Mike, good afternoon.
Storm Gord, good afternoon.
First of all, I want to say good luck and to the Rangers and yourself.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it.
And we'll see you next year on that.
Okay, sounds good. I'm sorry we couldn't be in the dance together this year.
Yeah, anyways, just about the parachuting in, Mike, I think somebody else wanted to run locally, and the leader decided to parachute somebody in. Was that correct?
That's correct. In Waterloo, that happened, yep.
Because there is a couple places where people just don't want to run anymore, and they have to parachute somebody in. One of the places, I believe, I'm looking at Michael Chong's riding. Nobody wants to run against him. That's the problem.
Well, maybe, I guess, and if you want to run a full slate because there's financing associated with that, you have to put a candidate in there, don't you?
That's part of the problem, yep.
Yep.
Anyways, that's all I wanted to say, Mike, and good luck again, eh?
Thanks, Gord. Really appreciate that from a Storm fan. We can all get along. We can cheer for different teams on the ice. We can cheer for different teams in an election race and still all get along afterwards, right? Susan, good afternoon.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Well, I'm good. I have something that, let's use one of your words, flummoxed me. My husband came home yesterday. We live on the same street as the mayor of Kitchener. And he came home, he said, the city is doing his trees. And I said, what? He said, the truck is in his yard, but the bucket truck is in the cemetery yard, and they are trimming the trees in his backyard. And he said there was a big branch over the neighbor's new garage. He said they were taking that down. He said none of these were in any way related to city property. So he said, what the heck is going on? Everyone else on that street pays for private tree companies to come in and do that. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, we waste money on bike lanes, and now our taxpayers paying for the mayor to have his property trees trimmed.
Well, okay, so I understand how you're gathering the information for this story. I know the mayor of Kitchener pretty well. I don't think he would be doing anything that's not on the up and up, but we can certainly inquire about that.
I know him as well, but that's why I'm looking. My husband's like, those trees had nothing to do with the city. Why is he having them trimmed?
Well, okay, so if you know him, hang on, Susan, hang on. If you know the mayor as well as you say, why didn't you ask him?
He's never home. His car's never in the driveway.
I guess he's busy being the mayor. Again,
yeah,
I get why.
I would knock on his door, but his car's never there when I'm driving town.
I get why you would raise an eyebrow about this if it looks like, but maybe it is that the city has to do it because of the cemetery in behind. I don't know. But again, knowing the mayor the way that we do, I doubt that he is using city resources to have work done on his personal property. But we can find out.
If someone can call you and say, well, here's what happened, I'd love to hear that.
All right,
Susan. I'm
Susan.
sure I'm not the only one on the street thinking that.
Of course not. I mean, listen.
Right? Let's ask. Let's get the answer.
Susan, tell me the truth now. Does your street get plowed first because you live on the same street as the mayor? Come on. Well, then, if he can't control the snowplow, I bet you he can't control the tree cutting either.
He lives right near the end of the street, though, so he may be able to get out easier than some of us.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for the call, Susan. I appreciate it. Again, I don't know the answer for sure, but I have a very strong inkling, knowing the mayor. Look, bluntly, I've known him since high school, and that doesn't mean I won't criticize the guy if I think he deserves criticism, but not the kind of person that I think would be taking advantage of city resources to clean up his own backyard, quite literally in this case. But we'll see what we can find out. Something I'm interested in today, if you don't mind, like it's Free Phones Friday, you can call in with whatever's on your mind. But I'm curious what you think about the different approaches, well, it's similar, but still different approaches of each of the main party leaders in this election to the Donald Trump threat. Here's what Liberal leader Mark Carney had to say yesterday.
I reject any attempts to weaken Canada, to wear us down, to break us so that America can own us. That will never happen. And our response to these latest tariffs is to fight, is to protect, and to build. Last night, the President of the United States reached out to schedule a call. I appreciate this opportunity to discuss how we can protect our workers and build our economies. I will make clear to the President that those interests are best served by cooperation and mutual respect, including of our sovereignty. We will respond forcefully. Nothing is off the table to defend our workers and our country.
And of course, that call, as you know, happened this morning. U.S. Donald Trump characterizes it as a very good call. Meantime, this is what Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre had to say about the tariffs.
My message to President Trump is knock it off. Stop attacking America's friends. Start trading so that we can once again become richer, stronger, and more secure on both sides of the border. That is how we will have the money for stronger military and stronger borders to secure our continent against real threats and real enemies. We will never be the 51st state, but we can, once again, be friends with the United States if the president reverses course on these disastrous tariff threats.
Is there one of those approaches that you prefer over the other? And anything else on your mind? It is Free Phones Friday, of course, on the Mike Farwell Show. Love to hear from you on 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Operator, or could you help me place this call? See, the number on the matchbook is old and faded. She's living in L.A. with my best old ex-friend Ray. Gosh, she said she knew well and sometimes hated.
Oh, Russell wanted to hear a little bit of Jim Croce on your All Request Friday here on the show. A little bit of Hey Operator for you. Thanks for the request, Russell. You can make one too. Just shoot me an email, mike@570news.com. Or when you call in, just talk to DJ Devin Robertson, the guy on the other side of the glass, and let him know what song you would like to hear a bit of. We play them for you on Fridays, which is All Request Fridays here on the show. It's also Free Phones Friday, where we take your calls for the full hour, noon to 1. We do it every day, but on Friday we call it Free Phones. Clinton's email to mike@570news.com about the different approaches, similar but still somewhat different, of Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney to the threat that is Donald Trump and the tariffs he's imposing on us. Clinton says, I prefer the conservative approach. I find Mark Carney lacks enthusiasm and is monotone when he speaks, similar to BC's Premier David Eby. David Eby, graduate of St. Jerome's High School here in Kitchener, in case you didn't know. Clinton's email goes on to say, I need a prime minister who exudes passion and commands attention upon entering a room. Mark Carney doesn't fit that description. Reluctantly, I must acknowledge that Justin was able to perform better than Carney in this regard. I'm surprised by that, quite frankly. I think Carney's much more prime ministerial than Justin Trudeau ever was, but that's just my take. Clinton, thanks for the email to Mike at 570news.com. Let's get back to the phones on Free Phones Friday. Rob, good afternoon.
Hi, Mike. It's Rob, and go Rangers.
Go Rangers, Rob.
Yeah, for sure. And anyways, I'm just wondering if I could guess your age, and if you would tell it to me.
Rob, am I at a carnival right now? Are we playing a carnival game? Do I win a prize, or do I get a prize if you get my age wrong?
Not really.
Oh.
I just
What fun is that then, Rob?
Yeah, nothing, I guess.
Okay, well, that's okay. You know what? You go ahead and guess and tell me why it is you're guessing what you're guessing, and then I'll let you know if you're right.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to guess 58.
Okay.
Just because I listen to your show quite a bit, and the music you like, and blah, 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 what I hear. And, I'm just curious. Me and my friend would like to know.
All right.
I think I'm older than you.
You think you're older than me?
Yeah.
But I'm 58 based on the things I say and the music I like.
Correct.
Okay. Fair enough. You're adding a few extra years to my life, Rob. I'm 53, turning 54 this year. I'm a 1971 birth year.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just sound older because I'm cranky as hell.
No, but you still know all the good old tunes, which I appreciate.
You're darn right I do. Because if it was made after 1979, I don't like it much, to be honest with you.
Perfect.
All right, Rob, thanks for the call.
Yeah, you have a good night, and go Rangers again.
Go Rangers again. You have a good night as well. We're all going to have a good night. We'll have a great night if the Rangers win, right? Game 1, playoff game day, baby. Tom, you're on Free Phones Friday. Good afternoon.
How are you, Mike?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's a good year. If you ever play Beatles Yesterday.
Is that your request? Do you want that to be an official request?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
We can do it.
Well, yeah, we can. You know what,
the
DJ?
The reason is because it's been taped in probably 2,500 different sorts.
Okay.
The most ever. So, anyway, that's it. Have a good weekend. All the best.
Thank you, Tom. Have a good weekend and all the best to you, too. Tom gets right to the point. Play me some Yesterday by the Beatles. I used to do that, too. Call up the radio station and make a request on the radio station. All right. Rob got me thinking about it. So I can't sit on these tickets any longer, okay? Rob said, go Rangers. Let's go Rangers. Let's give away the final 2 pairs of Rangers tickets that I have. All you have to do if you want to win is answer our really easy Rangers trivia question. I'm coming up with the question as I speak. If you can answer it, you get a pair of tickets to either tonight's game or Sunday's game. Both are against Flint, don't you know, because we're starting the playoffs. So if you would like to play really easy Rangers trivia and put your derriere in a seat at the Memorial Auditorium tonight and or Sunday, give us a call right now at 519-570-2545, star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. We'll take the callers in order, and you win, you get first dibs. You want Friday's tickets, you want Sunday's tickets. Well, let's go on the Mike Farwell Show. Really easy Rangers trivia coming up, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
I've never known before. It's called easy living. This is a place I've never seen before, and I've been forgiven.
Easy, you say? Easy living? No, it's easy, really easy Rangers trivia. But Mark wanted to hear a little bit of Uriah Heep and easy living here on your All Request Friday. Interesting little tidbit about Uriah Heep, the greatest, and I do mean the greatest rock and roll band in the history of rock and roll music, played their first ever concert together and opened for Uriah Heep. Of course, I'm talking about Rush. Anyway, Mark, thanks for the request on this All Request Friday. Let's get to really easy Rangers trivia. I have a couple of pairs of tickets to give away for tonight's game, one pair, and then Sunday's game, one pair, versus the Flint Firebirds. Playoffs open tonight. Playoff game day, baby. Tonight's game, of course, 7 o'clock. Sunday's game is 2 p.m. You answer the really easy Rangers trivia question, and I'm going to give you one of those pairs of tickets. Rob is going to start us off. Good afternoon, Rob.
Hello, how are you?
Wait a minute. Are you the guy that just called me and told me I was 58 years old, added 5 years to my life?
You got that right, sir.
And now you want my hockey tickets?
Well, for sure.
You are a
If I
son
can
of a
get it
gun,
right.
Rob. You are a son of a gun, let me tell you. Okay, just to show you what kind of a guy that I am, are you ready for really easy Rangers trivia?
I hope so.
All right, Rob, here's your question. How many points did the Kitchener Rangers finish with this season?
100.
Rob, congratulations, my friend. You son of a gun. You won my Rangers tickets. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Would you like to go to the game tonight or Sunday?
Sunday.
Sunday? You get the tickets for 2 o'clock Sunday. Just hang on the line and Devin's going to get your info, okay?
Beautiful.
All right, Rob. I can't believe that. Calls me 58 years old and then takes my hockey tickets. What a guy. All right, that means we have a pair of tickets left for tonight's game. Christine is next. Good afternoon, Christine.
Good afternoon, Mike.
Can you make it to the game tonight if you win really easy Rangers trivia?
Of course.
Of course. Okay, Christine. Are you ready for your really easy Rangers trivia question?
Yes.
Christine, please tell me the name of the Kitchener Rangers head coach.
UC Ahokas.
UC Ahokas has the focus of the team. A hocus pocus. Go Rangers, go. Christine,
Rangers.
Congratulations. You just won tickets to tonight's game.
Thank you.
You are
Have a great
welcome.
day and go Rangers.
Go Rangers. Hang on the line, okay, Christine?
Okay.
All right, put Christine back on hold. Devin will take down Christine's information, and that's it. I am sorry. I am out of Kitchener Rangers tickets. I've given away all 4 pairs. Here's the thing, okay? Well, 2 things. First of all, I always check these things for you. You know that. There are still some tickets available if you would like to go to the game tonight. I don't have them to give away, but you can certainly make the purchase. It'll be well worth the money. It's playoffs. But if you can't make it to the game, don't worry about it. Paul Fixter and I have you covered starting at 6:30 with your Harris Law pregame show. We're going to carry you right through 11 o'clock tonight. After the game, we'll take your calls. We'll talk Kitchener Rangers. We'll talk Game 1. We'll talk OHL playoffs. You name it. Fixie will tell some stories like he always does. And your home of Kitchener Rangers hockey, 570 News Radio, has you covered from 6:30 right through 11 o'clock tonight. Be there if you can. If you can't, you don't have anywhere else to be other than right here. Our Free Phones Friday conversations continue where you make the call and start the conversation on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Drove downtown in the rain, 9:30 on a Tuesday night, just to check out the late night record shop. Call it impulsive, call it compulsive, call it insane. But when I'm surrounded, I just can't stop. It's a matter of instinct, it's a matter of conditioning, a matter of fact. You can call me Pavlov's dog.
A little bit of the Bare Naked Ladies and Brian Wilson by request for Ron on your All Request Friday here on the program. Get your request onto the show before we're done in less than 30 minutes. Mike at 570news.com is the email, or when you call in, just let Devin Robertson, a.k.a. DJ Dev, know which song you would like to hear. Great email from Marino to Mike at 570news.com regarding the question, whose approach do you prefer to dealing with Donald Trump, Mark Carney's or Pierre Poilievre's? And Marino says, you don't tell a bully, let's talk and work on this together. You tell him to stop and knock it off. That kind of is shades of what we heard during our Friday 4 roundtable. A bully needs to be stood up to, and you got to fight back. And so Marino clearly prefers the Pierre Poilievre approach to dealing with Donald Trump. Free Phones Friday continues, 519-570-2545, star 570 and 1-800-570-5715. John, good afternoon.
Good day, Mike.
Good day, John.
So you're asking about leadership styles and which one is preferred.
I am, sir.
Well, I have a different look on this. I think, as you know, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool conservative. However, I must admit I do like Carney's approach in that he gave the diplomatic answer that I will listen to what other leaders have to say, but I do not take direction from them.
Yep.
And I think that's a good, clear, positive strength message to Donald Trump. I like Poilievre's because he's not afraid to jump into it. I'm just concerned that when you have a bully the way we have Donald Trump, perhaps confrontation is not the best way to handle it. I think Carney is giving the attitude that, look, we're going to listen to what you have to say, but you have to remember you don't tell us what to do. And if we don't agree, then we move our separate ways. And I think that's a very positive but strong approach.
John, very well said. Thank you very much for the call. More diplomatic, less abrasive. And let's be honest, in all of this, whether you like it or not, one must be diplomatic in politics, which isn't to say that Pierre Poilievre couldn't be diplomatic. Heck, he has spent 8 terms in office as an MP, although primarily as the sort of attack dog, as we've often referred to him as, right? Interesting times. Kyle, good afternoon.
You might want to turn on your headphones for 2 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Woo! Let's go, Rangers! Da, 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 da! Here we go, buddy. First game of the playoffs, eh? Are you
Thank you very much for the warning so I could turn down my headphones. But
I know, I don't want you to be deaf.
Full marks to you, pal. Full marks to you. I'm so excited, Kyle. Like, honestly, I can barely describe the excitement I have to start the playoffs. Cannot wait.
I got my 6-pack of beer waiting for me when I get home.
Attaboy.
Right now.
That's why we get along.
I just want to say, let's go Rangers, buddy. Have a good time today. I'll listen to you at the game. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Kyle. I really appreciate it. Good to hear from you today. I don't know. I don't want to be dismissive of the regular season, but the 68 games leading up to this one tonight are just the warm-up act, right? I love it, and I can't wait to get to the rink. I might go early today. Watch out. Evan, good afternoon.
Hello, how's it going?
Evan, I'm doing well. How's it going with you?
Pretty good.
Good.
It's Rangers game day, baby. Let's go.
Playoff game day, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Here's my prediction of who's going to score the first goal.
Okay, prediction for the first goal is?
I'm going to go Trent Swick.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now that you're wrong. I love you, but you're wrong. Here's who's going to score the first goal, okay?
All right.
Luke Ellenis, baby.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. So you got Swick, I got Ellenis, but we believe the Rangers are going to win, right?
No matter what happens, yeah.
Absolutely. Evan, I thought I would have seen you at the Titans game last night, but I didn't see you there.
No, I'm going to go on Saturday instead.
Oh, okay. In between the Ranger games. You're going to be at the Ranger game tonight?
Yeah, and Sunday, and then Titans game on Saturday.
Dude, you're having the best weekend ever.
I know.
All right, Ev, thanks for the call. Good to hear from you. A little prediction. Trent Swick, says Evan, who scored a career high, by the way, 26 goals this year. Did he get up to 27? He did. He got up to 27 goals this year. Swick did. Evan says Trent Swick will score the first goal. I'm going with Luke Ellenis. Pretty sure Luke Ellenis scored the first goal of last year's playoffs. Either way, it's finally here. And you can hear the game right here on 570 News Radio. 6:30 pregame. Takes you right through Rangers talk until 11. Or better yet, join us at the rink. It's going to be a great atmosphere. Let's blow the roof off for game one. Let's save ourselves a little bit for down the road, but let's make some noise. Let's have a good time, and let's not under any circumstances, please don't make me come after you for this. Do not, under any circumstances, boo the U.S. anthem tonight. We're playing Flint. Let the anthem be sung, probably by a school choir. Think of those kids. Think of the American kids on the Kitchener Rangers. Just think before you boo. Don't boo at all unless something happens during the game that makes you want to boo. Not during the anthem. Not allowed. Show some class. Free Phones Friday. This is the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio, Rogers TV.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly,
you probably heard Tom like 15 minutes ago saying, hey, let's hear some Yesterday by the Beatles. Okay, Tom. You know why? Because it's all Request Friday here on the program. Also free phones, noon to 1, open phone lines so we can hear from you. Give you the chance to start the conversation. Back to the phones we go. Francis, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, brother. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I heard at your round table you had a person from North Perth, which is Listowel, at your round table. I would have liked to ask, how was their driving this morning? Did they have a road closure again or tornado or anything on their way?
I don't think so. Everything was pretty good in North Perth today, Francis.
Yeah, anyways, as you know, I call it the highway from hell, going from 86 to 85.
I know the one you mean, and I understand. Neil Anstett, who's the councillor there in Listowel for North Perth, is a terrific guy.
Yes, well, it's a terrible highway to travel at any time. And I had asked, hopefully you'll be able to have time for my song on there, Why Me, Lord, by Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson, Why Me, Lord. We'll get DJ Dev to look it up and see if we can get it on for you.
Yeah, with all the craziness going on in this world, that's what I say. Why me, Lord?
Sounds good, Francis.
God bless.
And to you, sir, if you're on that highway to hell, just for what it's worth, stop in Dorking at the general store there and remember to have cash with you, okay? Because it's a cash environment there. I stopped in there randomly over the summer on my motorcycle, did not have cash. You know what they said? Just pay the next time you're coming through. I'll tell you what. And then some sweet lady from the nearby area paid for me. She said, you just pay it forward sometime. Are you kidding me? Dorking. I love you, Dorking. Right there on the highway to hell that Francis talks about, which is 86 from Elmira into Listowel. Back to the phones, Free Phones Friday. Joe, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mike. First of all, go Rangers.
Go Rangers, let's go.
Give my regards to Fixie. I'll see you on Sunday. And you guys must be relieved that it's not the Sioux. I know you were concerned, had some trepidation over that.
We did not know for sure until last Saturday, but it is Flint and we're ready to go.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to comment on Trump. He's a beauty, isn't he?
He sure is.
Oh, boy. If you don't like the reality that's in front of you, make some shit up and create your own reality. What
Joseph.
a beauty.
Joseph.
Shite. Sorry.
Joseph. Joseph.
My apologies.
You are murdering me today, buddy. Family-friendly program.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway, the latest one, can you say election interference? Did you hear the report on his call with Carney? Oh, it was very productive, and we see good things together in the future. Is that not election interference on his Truth Social or what?
How about
beauty?
How about the fact he called him prime minister and not governor?
Oh, sure. Is that not election interference or what? What a beauty. Anyway, you have a good weekend, and I'll see you Sunday.
All right, Joe. Go wash your mouth out with soap if you don't mind. John, Free Phones Friday, over to you. Good afternoon.
I got to stop laughing first. Mike, I just wanted to really take the time to thank you for your comment about not booing. I called into the ranger office of Joe Birch a couple of weeks ago, and I asked if you could please make an announcement for games that please do not be disrespectful. I think it's terrible. People should take their anger out in any other form against the person who deserves it, and not take it out against a country's flag and their national anthem, because, like you said, there's a lot of kids on that team, on both teams, that are from the U.S. Maybe there's some U.S. fans in the audience, and you've got young children that are singing. They don't know about the politics. All they know are people are booing after they sing. And I think what you said is spot on, and I really personally appreciate it.
John, thank you for that. I appreciate the support on it, and hopefully between the two of us, we can extend that message again. It's just not the right place. Leave your politics at the door. I don't care how pissed off you are with Donald Trump and tariffs and anything. Come into the game, enjoy the game. Cheer your face off, but do not, under any circumstances, boo the U.S. anthem at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium tonight. Don't do it, because we will have beef. I promise you, we will have beef. So let's just, for every reason that John just outlined, okay? Let's make sure we do it the right way. Be classy, Kitchener. This is the Mike Farwell Show, Free Phones Friday, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Why me, Lord? What have I ever done to deserve even one of the pleasures I've known?
By request from Francis just moments ago, Chris Christopherson, the late, great, underrated as a songwriter. His name shows up on the credits of so many albums, to say nothing of his own work. Chris Christopherson, by request on this All Request Friday on the program. Phil sends me an email to mike@570news.com. And Phil is also on the right path here as far as I'm concerned. Mike, if a person wishes to object to the national anthem of the United States of God Bless America, stay standing in the hallways or the lobby until it's over. Enter your seat when they're rolling up the carpets off the ice before puck drop. Okay, Phil, I can get behind that. Go boo in a corner. Boo to you, says I. Please respect the U.S. anthem tonight. Your quarrel is not with the players on the ice, with the kids singing the anthem, with any fan who may have traveled to Kitchener from Michigan to take in tonight's game between the Rangers and the Flint Firebirds. Your quarrel is with a man in Washington. It's not going to help to boo the anthem. I think there are far more negative impacts and outcomes of that than positive. That's my stand on it. Back to the phones, Free Phones Friday. Rob Deutschman, good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Mike. Just a quick call, changing it up a little bit.
Yep.
I just wanted to acknowledge that my good friend Ross Kelterborn, former mayor of Wellesley, a local politician for over 30 years, passed away last Friday. We had the funeral today. I just wanted to acknowledge all the great work that Ross did. A true gentleman, a humble servant of the community, a good friend of mine. And so we buried him today, and just want to wish the Wellesley community and the Kelterborn family all the best.
Thanks very much for that, Rob. It's an excellent point. And I know that you sat down for a nice conversation with him on the Old Grey Mares podcast. Where can we go and find it so we can hear some of that wisdom and that community service of Ross's?
Yeah, Ross, it's funny. He's won elections, he's lost elections, and he's been acclaimed. It's like the trifecta, but he takes it all in stride. And just Google Old Grey Mares and podcast, and you'll find it. Some good conversations. You know, Mike, we've had a few people pass away recently, and I'm kicking myself not having had an opportunity to reach out to them to preserve some of their conversations. I've done about 50 of these. I hope to do more. I think it's important for our community to cherish and preserve our heritage and understand where we came from, and recognize some of these people that have served our community so well for so long. It harkens back to a time that's a lot different than the time we have now. And as we're hearing what's going on with our local politics. But anyway, Mike, thanks for the time, and all the best to you and the Rangers and everybody else out there.
Thanks, Rob. Great to hear from you. Rob Deutschman, initials RD. New segment coming to this show in less than 2 weeks. Political R&D. I don't know if there's a connection there. I'm not saying there's a connection there. I got to know Ross Kelterborn a bit when I was starting out as a reporter in this community. And yes, definitely a loss that is felt beyond Wellesley, of course, but particularly in Wellesley where he was mayor of the township. So to the Kelterborn family, our condolences for sure. And I like Rob's point about hearkening back to a different era of local politics. And just like that, we are fresh out of time. I hope to see you at the Rangers game tonight. If you can't be there, be right here. We start our pregame coverage at 6:30. Devin Robertson, our guy on the other side of the glass. My name is Mike Farwell. Go Rangers, go. Bye for now.